request, sir? Naturally, sir.
Draymond is always a week away from being out of shape, right? And so you say, well, a lot of guys take All-Star Week to rest their bodies, take a break. They do, right? But Draymond almost can't afford to because he's never really in good shape. He's just a week away from falling out of shape. And you saw it in the first half of that game when the pace was back and forth. And look, be clear. We could have got prime 2006 Game 7 Draymond.
What's up, boss?
We probably weren't going to win that game.
Stay safe, boss.
I'm not blaming the loss on Draymond. It's just disappointing. It's just another check mark on the list of kind of unprofessional things that he does and kind of ways that things we have to deal with being part of the Draymond experience. You know? And so he's slogging around, and he's probably the most affected by the Steph news. So I get that. But, you know, if we're going to pack Steph up for the season and it's just not worth it, you might as well do the same thing.
Got some cool stuff here for you.
But the interesting thing with Draymond is he has this player option in the summer. And
what can I get you?
He wants one more extension. One more 2-year deal, maybe, like a 1-and-1. And so that would incentivize him to show something these final 25 games. But you got to be in shape.
Keep your eyes open.
He's just not in good enough shape. He takes a break for 6-7 days, and that's what it looks like. That's nasty, man. That's nasty. And so I'm not blaming the loss on Draymond, but I think we all saw it. It's like, geez, man, like all that talking, it's what makes it worse, right? It makes it worse. But I could really shit on almost everybody on the team about last night's performance, right? And I think what we're seeing here, I want to talk about Melton and Pods a little bit, because I think that's what we're going to learn in this final 25, 26 games is. And for the Pods haters, y'all must be in heaven. But like, and y'all know I'm a Pods guy, and I believe him. But he's just not the shooter. He doesn't have the touch to be the guy I thought he could be, right? And I think that the organization's finding that out. Pods is finding that out. Not that he's not an NBA player, but he's certainly. I don't think he's a starter. I think that's what we're learning. And I would go also that route with Melton, because I know a lot of people have been saying, oh, Melton, in theory, he should be our starting 2-guard. Like when we're healthy, you know, you're trying to sort out the lineups for even next season. You're like, Melton could be our 2-guard. We got to sign him. I don't think he's a starter, man. Listen, he's got to get way better as a team defender and in transition defense. And he's a hooper. He makes things happen. But how many times have you seen Melton not know the clock was melting? And he's just, no pun intended, but it's just like, oh, hey, it's about it. He doesn't have no clue. He doesn't really I'm not seeing the feel and IQ of a guy that Kerr loves in his system. And that's the irony, because Kerr seems to love him so much, maybe out of necessity, just as an athlete and a guy that can make stuff happen downhill. But you've probably tired of me talking to, souring on Melton here each video, but I don't think he's a starter. Maybe the 6th or 7th guy. I think if you bump the Pods and Melton both down a notch, right, where you say, all right, Melton's not a starter, you bump him to the 6th or 7th guy, like where Pods is, and then you maybe bump Pods down even further into the pecking order. Because if he can't be a knockdown shooter and a guy with touch that can make shots, like that was part of the agreement when you drafted Pods. You assumed he was a shot maker and a shooter, and we're not really seeing that. Seth is a disaster. They also announced, Seth is another 2 weeks away. At this point, if he wasn't a Curry, would you waive him? And maybe it's not his fault. A sciatica, a back thing is a problem, but it seems like he's cooked, right? And so it just seems like at this point here, is there a run in him? They're really at a point here where it's like, and I know that the NBA has just made announcements like, we're penalizing tanking. You can't tank. Well, we don't have to necessarily tank. It just is what it is at this point with who we got going out there. I did think that there were a couple bright spots. Guy Santos and Will Richard. Will, I don't love the look of the jumper. There's like a little weird hitch at the top of it, but it goes in. He plays with the motor. He has the IQ and feel that you thought Melton would have at this stage in his career, right? I think the question for Will is, can he be a starter? We know he has the talent and ability to, but a guy that plays that hard, what does that look like playing 28 or 30 minutes a night for 42 games, halfway through the year? Is it sustainable? I'm not saying it isn't. I think that's what we need to learn if it's more sustainable, the more minutes Will gets. Guy misses His first 3 threes, open threes. And that's where
This teenage girl sends a picture of herself and addressed to her friend for her friend's advice. But then she realizes that she sent the pictures to the wrong number, and now she's panicking. She's worried that she's going to receive a weird reply from a random person, and the reply she got was very unusual. This random guy wrote back to her, and in his message he said, "My wife isn't home." And this reply led to a shocking chain of events. Sydney Uselton was a senior at Oakland High School in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. She's getting ready for her school's formal. She's doing some dress shopping. She takes 2 photos of this dress and sends it to her friend. Quickly realizes that she sent it to the wrong number, and then her heart drops. She gets this reply from this random guy. Then she takes a screenshot of that reply, sends that to her friend. Her friend posted the photo on social media, hoping to track this guy down, and they do end up tracking him down. They find out that the guy's name is Tony Wood, and he is also a Tennessee resident. And here was his reply in its entirety. "I believe this message was meant for someone else. My wife isn't home, so I couldn't get her opinion, but I did get my kids' opinion, and they think you look stunning. They said you should definitely go with this one." And then he sent a picture of his 5 children, giving Sydney the thumbs up. This heartfelt reply went viral, and people started digging into Tony a little bit more, and they found something very interesting. It says that he was a father of 6, but the photo that he sent back only had 5 kids in it. Come to find out, his 6-year-old Keisler was in the hospital battling cancer. So the internet ended up tracking down their GoFundMe page, and they end up raising over $65,000 for Tony and his family to help Keisler with his fight with leukemia. Now looking back, was this a coincidence? Was this an accident? I don't believe in coincidences, but either way, this is an incredible story to me. Big shout out to everyone who donated. Shout out to Tony. Shout out to Keisler. I hope he makes a full recovery. But this was such a dope story. This teenage girl sends a picture of herself and addressed to her friend for her friend's advice.
The San Francisco 49ers finished dead last in the NFL in sacks in 2025. They've shown
GTA Online security contracts, how to get different contracts to pop up.
interest in Max Crosby before. Will they again this offseason? And should they trade for one of the top pass rushers in the game? Let's talk about that. But first, if you want Niners coverage every single day, year round, don't forget to give me a follow and subscribe. Let's begin with the asking price here. According to Adam Schefter, he just said this yesterday, the Raiders want at least 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby. So not only would the 49ers have to absorb a cap hit for Crosby in 2026 of nearly $36 million, they'd have to surrender 2 first-round picks. That's too high of an asking price. Now, of course, that Raiders asking price can come down, but when you factor a couple things in here, let's discuss this. Max Crosby is a dog, plays the game the right way, empties the tank on every snap. He's an elite pass rusher and run defender, but given the age, the cap hit, and him coming off of a discus surgery, I don't know if I'd be comfortable giving up 2 first-rounders and paying him that much money. What do you think? Let me know. The San Francisco 49ers finished dead last in the NFL.